Hello, love.
All right, I think I need to see about this. Hold on, let me see if I can make this shorter. It looked better in my test.
It always works better in the test, doesn't it?
Yeah, I feel like I need a booster seat.
Where are you in your house?
In the dining room.
Oh, okay.
The dining room table. Let me go grab a pillow to sit on. As people are joining, I'm grabbing a pillow.
Okay, I'll say hi to everybody that's joining.
Perfect.
Your way. So we have Monique on and Michael and Renee. How are you? Good to see everyone. I'm actually in Indianapolis. I had to fly here, or actually drive here. We had a funeral to go to today. So I'm in my hotel room and Deanna is in her home in Dallas.
There we go. There we go. That's a little better.
Awesome. Your hair looks fab, girl.
Thanks. It's diffused with a few little beach waves attached.
Nice.
Yes. Hi, Michael. We need to connect, sir.
Yes. I was going to say this at the end of this, but actually Michael is my next guest on Tammy Connects.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he will be on next Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central.
Fantastic.
On Tammy Connects. So he has an amazing outlook on life, so I think you'll really enjoy it. So definitely join us next week.
I am planning on it because, doesn't he live here?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, I feel like I've met him over the years, but I don't know how we've missed each other.
Yeah, well, he's been in the Tony Guy TIGI family for a while, so.
That's spectacular.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about you, girl.
Perfect.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for being a part of this.
Oh.
You know, don't make me cry, girl.
I know. We can't start the show like that.
You know, I admire you so much, and you inspire me so much. So I just want everyone to know who you are and why you inspire me so much. You know, Tammy Connects is a place to share the journeys of successful people in this industry. And the purpose is to motivate beauty professionals to find something new for themselves and just to step into it through all that fear and doubt and all those things that we put in our head, right? And you're definitely one of those women that are constantly in a work in progress, and you've done that. And that's really what inspires me about you. So I just want you to share that with our viewers tonight.
Fantastic.
Because I know they'll find something for themselves in this. I know it. So first of all, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, like how you got into the beauty industry, where you are now. Just give us a little background, because not everyone knows you.
Wow. I was one of those rare people that knew at a very young age that I was going to be a hairdresser.
Yes.
I was 8 years old and I just knew that I was going to be a hairdresser. My grandmother was a beauty operator, and I was the oldest grandchild and the only granddaughter. And I don't know if necessarily she inspired me in that way, but I just knew it was in my blood. And, you know, when I really look at my lineage with that, her mother was not in the industry, but her father was a barber. Her brother was a barber. My grandmother was a beauty operator, and I'm a hairdresser. And so it really spoke to me, and college for me was just not an option. I mean, I was a wild, wild girl. And, you know, when I look back at my youth, I'm like, holy shit, I've really progressed since then. So I'm from Wyoming, and I went to beauty school in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And so I think people think, you know, because of my relationship with TIGI over the years, that I actually went to a Tony and Guy, and I didn't. I went to school in Wyoming. It was a very, you know, beauty school is, at least then, it's really developed into some great education now. But back then, I mean, it was literally to get your license, to get out there and get the experience. And so that's what changed, I think, over the years. So I went because my grandmother, I was out of the house before I graduated from high school. And my grandmother said, that's enough, because I was really wild. And I will always be grateful for the fact that she took me to the cosmetology school and got me registered.
Yeah.
And that was a game changer for me. That was the beginning of my career, for sure.
Yeah. You had said that was probably the best gift that anyone gave you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It really was. And I know that she knows that I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So then after that, you ended up moving, right?
A lot. A lot.
Right.
So we'll fast forward a bit, but I've been married 3 times. I'm celebrating my 10-year anniversary with my husband next month. And, you know, between that was a bit chaotic. Before we moved to Dallas, I was in the Omaha, Nebraska area. And that's where I got my education. So I went from a small little salon in Blair, Nebraska. That was me and the owner, and I am still in touch with her, and she'll always be my boss lady, and she was spectacular. She really believed in me. And I went from that salon to a really large salon in Omaha, Creative Hair Design. I'm going to give them a shout out because they're a spectacular salon, and they saw something in me then. They saw that I did my cosmetics well, and they paid for me to have 48 hours of education in 2 weeks. They really did that. And from there, I met my first TIGI rep for cosmetics and was asked to become a cosmetic artist for TIGI. And that changed my life. I was given a lot of opportunities. That's what brought me to Dallas. That's, you know, traveling into Canada, into Latin America. I'm traveling the United States. I think there are only 6 states left that I haven't actually visited. And it was a game changer. It gave me the education to understand how to build a business, how to maintain a business, how to grow a business. So just for perspective, when I started at Creative Hair Design, I was working 2 to 3 jobs at that time, and was stagnant at a $19,000 a year job. I mean, I could not push back that. I was uneducated, and I knew I was uneducated. I didn't know what I needed, but I knew I was uneducated. And so getting in with TIGI and getting that education, within 2 years, I tripled my income. And so that was huge for me. And being humble and, you know, starting in Creative Hair Design, I was an assistant. So I'd already been a hairdresser for 8 years, going back and assisting people younger than me. That was very humbling. And I remember carrying towels one day, just in tears, wondering, have I made the wrong decision? Moving to a large salon. But in hindsight, that was being uncomfortable, getting to where I am now. And I will always be grateful. And thank God, you know, I'm still sisters with a bunch of girls that are still there, and it's just been a wonderful journey.
Yeah, well, we didn't have all that education back then that we do now. I mean, we were lucky that we got what we did get, right?
Girl, we were blessed up one side, down the other.
Right, exactly. Okay, so then that's kind of when I met you when you were in Omaha, wasn't it?
Yes.
I met you at Omaha at Peels. The distributor. Yeah, that's when I met you, and then you moved to Dallas. And I would always come to Dallas and go to the learning lab and take classes. And you were definitely the multitasker there. You were running the learning lab. You were running the cosmetic, partnering with Kevin to do that. Traveling, single mom, like you were hustling.
Yep. And it was great because when we moved to Dallas, I met Michael then, my husband, and you know, that group of people, you know, between Pat Batanti and Kevin.
Pat's on here, by the way. Hi, Pat Batanti.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, don't make me cry.
I know. Last time I saw her on here, I started tearing up, and it was like the very beginning of it.
You know, that to me, that was the dream team.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
We took us off. We had a connection that was unlike any. We could finish each other's sentences, and it was a spectacular team. Yeah. And I'm grateful. I will always be grateful for that aspect of working in the corporate office. It was that was a gift.
Well, and I felt it too as a client coming in there. Like it was just a good energy from just, you know, from me being one of your customers. I loved it when you guys were there. So thank you for that.
Oh,
that was awesome.
Well, I tell you, we had a certain intention. I know when Angie asked me to build that, I had a very specific intention on how I want everyone to show up and feel.
Yeah.
And, you know, Kevin taught me that from a very, very young person. You know, it's not about what we say, but how we make people feel.
Yeah.
And to me, that was also a game changer.
Yeah, I agree. So, okay, so let's fast forward a little bit, because this is kind of when, you know, what's so funny is I have so many friends that have left the company, but I still stay in touch with so many.
Yes.
And you were definitely one of them. And what I have noticed about you probably the last 5 or 6 years is how quickly you are creating things and just stepping into it, right?
Yes.
And so for a very long time, well, let's go back. So you've been creating things. So one of the things you did is you opened up your own salon and spa, right? You left the corporate life.
Yes.
Opened up your salon. So tell us about that, because I think it's really cool how you listen to your signs. Yes. So kind of explain to people how you did that.
So for me, back then, so I've had my salon now 6.5 years. I'm in a suite, and I'm with the Sola brand, and I absolutely love it. And so for me, the last 2.5 years at my corporate job, you know, it was tumultuous for me. I was not in love with it anymore. And for me, for signs, I would always ask for it in 3s, because at that time, I no longer claim to be so stubborn, but at that time I felt like I was really stubborn, and I needed it to be in my face, bold, show me what my next move is. And at this point, I'd already interviewed. I'd had 4 interviews with Aveda to be told no. And it was very interesting. When that no happened, I processed all of that emotion in a day. I walked outside to my car. I looked up at this gorgeous blue sky, and I said, okay, I am open and willing to receive the next thing. And I did not think about it again. 2 weeks later, I go out to my mailbox. I open up the mailbox, and there are 3 postcards for salon suites. And I'm like, this is no coincidence. Like, this is my sign. And I remember looking up at yet another beautiful blue sky and saying, are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
You want me to go back behind the chair without clients? I had no clientele. And I clearly heard yes. And I took those postcards, and Pat and I were in the office, and we were sorting them out. We were Googling them. We were looking at them. And then I came home and told my husband. And that's when the fear set in for him, right? Leaving the
secure paycheck, right? Yeah, the paycheck,
the benefits, all of it, right? But I allowed that. And for me, when I know it is meant to be, it is in grace. I do not have to. There's no stress. Everything just unrolls. It unrolls like the red carpet's coming out for you. And it was the most beautiful thing. I had a wonderful ally in my rep with Aaron. He helped set me up. He helped me use some of that corporate money that I was getting to still buy my product. No discount, but I still did it. And it was wonderful. It was a wonderful, graceful experience. I signed my contract in October. Good things always happen to me in October. Signed my contract in October with Sola and opened March 1st. And so
that's one thing I have learned from you, is that when something is meant to be, it comes with grace. Like, there's no struggle.
No.
Right? And Lord, I wish you would have told me that back in my 20s. Because there's no struggle.
I wish I knew that then.
I know, but that's something I've always paid attention to when you talk about that. And I'm like, you know, when I look back at things that have just been worked out so great for me, they just came with grace and ease. There was no struggle. And I'm not saying you shouldn't work hard for what you want. There's difference. But when you are going towards something and it's just not working out time after time after time, it's like, girl,
the universe is telling you.
Right. Right. So that's definitely a lesson I've learned from you. So you open up your own suite, and then here we go, fast forward, you end up knocking down a wall and making it even bigger. Like it was
Yes.
quick.
Yes. So this is what, all right, let's back up just a smidgy. So I opened March 1st, and I remember standing outside the door because I was across the hall at this point in a smaller suite. And I said to Universe, I said, I am open and willing to receive any client that is meant to sit in my chair. Is Pat still on here? Can you tell?
I think she is, yeah.
So Pat, do you remember this? Do you remember this conversation? And I called you and I was like, oh my God, I ended up with a drunk lady with a big gulp of vodka in my chair that first week. And I will always treasure this advice. And she said, redefine what it is you want.
Yes. Yes. That's another
right?
point. Yes.
And so that was a game changer for me from everything I do. I am very clear in what it is I want. So I said, I want clients just like me sitting in my chair, because the hairdresser sitting here is not the hairdresser that left Omaha.
Yeah.
We are always in progress. We are always lifting, shifting, and moving and changing. We are never the same people if we're growing. Mm-hmm. So then I'm building this beautiful clientele. I did that through referral programs. So I like people to know that. They're like, well, how do you start your business? Well, first and foremost, you have to be motivated in order to do that.
Right.
So sitting around having a pity party that you don't have clients isn't the way to do it. I also printed a shit ton of cards, and I would go dropping them everywhere, literally on the ground, in bathrooms, in restaurants, at cashiers. I was dropping cards everywhere. The referral program that I did was refer 3, get 50% off your next service. 50%, because to me, I've always rewarded good behavior. Mm-hmm. I was never the discount queen. I did not discount my services, and I'm a la carte. So I would have a haircut charge on top of a color service, on top of a highlight service, right? So right. To me, I found that works. So the referrals, I would always tell my clients, you could potentially get a free service if you send me 6 people. And I had some major cheerleaders that helped me build my business. Yeah. And now I don't even have room for referrals. So it's time to start. We're shedding a little. We're in a shedding cycle right now. Yep. And I'm actually like gifting clients to certain people because my energy's changed, and some of my clients' energy's changed, and we're not resonating as good right now. So I'm giving them a way to go to someone else, and that's working out really well. Yeah. And it's good for them, and it's good for me.
Yeah, but what's funny though is when you're young in this industry, and you hear someone say that you're giving clients away, like it's just an evolution in our business where you can't, if you really want to make the money you want to make and have the career you want to have, right? Working less hours, making the same amount of money, if not more. Yes. There comes a time where you do keep those select clients that you love seeing them every day. They're willing to grow with you in your business. Mm-hmm. They're open to change. There's just a difference, and it's hard to explain until you get there, but it's not a bad thing to let people go. But I believe, having their best intentions at heart and giving them to people that'll really take care of them. Yes. Because, those clients helped us get to where we are today, and we can't forget that. But when it comes to a point where your price increase isn't going to fit their, economic bracket, and that, and you don't want to offend anybody. You want to make sure they're taken care of. So there is definitely, again, grace and ease on how you handle that. And in the end, you end up with the clients that are going to grow with you. Yes. And
because I know for me, so if people are wondering like what I work, I never come in before noon. I promised myself I would never work corporate hours again. And just for reference, my average work week was about 68 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And I told myself I would never do that again. And so I work 12 to 8. And I say ish because I will stay later for some clients on my Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Tuesday, Thursday are salon days, 12 to 8. And then Friday is 12 to 5. And then I work every 6th Saturday. And what's interesting about reducing that Saturday is I'm actually making more money with less Saturdays. And it's very entertaining to me to look at that.
So yeah, let's look at that though, because when I came to your salon this year, and you did the Living with Intention class behind your chair, that's when you started saying, I'm going to stop saying yes to my business and start saying yes to my life.
Yes.
Stop saying yes to my business, right? Start saying yes to my life. And you made that shift. You started making boundaries for yourself. So talk about that. Like, what was that mindset for you? Because I think a lot of stylists have a hard time understanding setting those boundaries behind the chair.
Well, and I think we have, a lot of hairdressers are single moms. And a lot of hairdressers are wives and have families. And I became a grandmother. And, that's still so weird to say that I'm a grandmother.
Yeah.
But I am. I'm a Mimi. And that little angel has changed my life. And for me, I want to be here more. I want to have the opportunity to spend time with him and to watch him and be here with my kids. And it's absolutely brilliant. And for me, that was a mandatory thing. Honestly, if I could get rid of my Saturdays all the way around, I would. But I have clients that just live too far away that we make that. I've got someone that comes in from Waco. I've got someone that comes down from Oklahoma. I've got people that come in now this may not sound like much, but come in from the other side of Dallas. But traffic-wise, that's an hour and a half to 2 hours on an evening that they can't, it just wears them out. They can't do it after work.
Right.
So from that's why I've kept it every 6th Saturday.
Yeah, but that's huge though, because I remember back in the day, I never in a million years thought I would stop working on a Saturday. It just wasn't heard of. Yeah. You never would do that. And then when I got married 10 years ago, my husband said, look, I didn't marry you to you be working all weekend. He's like, you're going to have to, get rid of Saturdays. And I just could not wrap my head around it until I just did it. I stepped into it and I worked my hours. I just had to really sit down and think, like, what do I want my career to be? What do I want my hours to be? How do I want to be present there for my daughter and him, and just juggle all that? And like you said and Pat said, write it down exactly what you want your career to look like, and it will happen.
Yes,
it
and it does
magically happens. And all those clients filtered over during the week. I just stopped working Saturdays. And it was so crazy. I remember the day I stopped working on Saturdays, all the stuff I got done on a Saturday. And I couldn't understand why there was so much traffic out and stuff. And I was like, oh, no wonder, because everybody else is off in the world on Saturdays. But hairdressers, we're used to that grind, and Saturdays was always our big day. But as soon as I had that mind shift and created what I want my career to be, all of it went in during the week. And I never missed a beat. Yes. But it's just wrapping your head around that.
Yes. Somebody's asking a question, or did I work other nights? So my schedule has always been the same. I have not changed that. What has changed is I may double book a client, which I do not like to do. So let's talk about that a second. So I have people that work in my suites with us that'll see 14 people a day. When I heard that, I had anxiety for them.
But that's truly how it is, Deanna. I mean,
not for me.
No, but I'm saying the majority of hairstylists are hustling. They're double booking, get them in, get them out.
But my question is, what type of experience are you giving the client? But because to me, I'm very experiential. So they come in, my lighting in my salon is very similar to what I have here. So it's not very bright. I have, they get a glass of wine, they'll have a beer. It's soft Zen music all the time. So for me, it's very much an experience. So I don't like double booking. That's really the only thing that I have noticed that has changed. But I make sure that I'm very conscious on which clients that I can double book with and what type of appointment it is. So from that perspective, I do not change a lot of that. The other thing is I committed to myself.
That's your tribe of dogs. I guess we can't mute the dogs. Alrighty then.
Sorry. Apparently food might be delivered and I've got 4 dogs.
Yeah. We can hear you. Go ahead. Diana, your dog is hearing Deanna's dog bark, so your dog's going nuts. That's awesome. They're getting in trouble. She has a little spray bottle that she sprays her dogs with when they get out of hand. It's so cute. And they do, too. They get right back in line. I was telling them about your spray bottle.
Oh.
When they're bad.
And it's vinegar. It's vinegar. So, but for me, it is about creating boundaries. And right now I've got a waiting list with 6 people on it. So if they, I book through the year. So I book all of my clients through the year. Right now I'm booking through 2020. And so they know, and this is how I said it. If you like your day and time, it's yours forever.
Exactly. So, you just be honest with them. If you want the day and time that you prefer, I recommend you pre-book now. And I always did 3 to 4 appointments out.
Yes, I do a year.
I remember even that when I first started doing hair, I didn't have any clients. And I would tell my clients, you might want to start booking now because it's going to get really busy.
Yeah.
Because I knew eventually it was going to get busy.
Yes.
But it's just, informing them. I mean, I had a few clients that can't pre-book because they have so much travel. But then I would say, why don't you just go ahead and pre-book? At least it's on your calendar.
Yes.
And then if you need to change it, call me. But if you don't get in when if you don't book it now, you're not going to get in. Yep. And then you just have to be honest with them. And then it's almost like training your clients to do that.
Well, and the interesting thing for my clients is they know that if they miss this one and they don't find a magical opening between now and then, that they have another one booked.
Yeah.
So, I know the exception to that is if there's an illness or death, I'll put them at the top of the list. Otherwise, I go through my list. And, for them, they know it's there. I tell them they're on the cancellation list and we'll see what happens. Yeah. But, moments like this, I just had Estrogenfest this weekend. I leave in 11 days for Hawaii. People are freaking out. Like I've got a beautiful lady right now that has shingles. And she goes, is there any chance? I'm like, girl, it is slim to none. Yeah. But, magic happens because life happens. And so people then can get on the book.
Yeah.
But that was the boundary I set. I do not kill myself for my day. I love my day. My salon is my serenity, just like my home is. And I make sure that I am absolutely present in that day. I never even know. I'm so present in my day that I usually don't even know who's walking in the door.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, hi, it's so good to see you,
Yeah.
So it's nice.
So, okay, so let's fast forward now. You've got your salon, right? Mm-hmm. And then you come up with this idea. So this is what I love is that you actually listened to your whisper, right? Or your idea that kept coming up for you. So talk about that.
Which part?
So your Estrogenfest.
Oh, Estrogenfest.
Yes.
So 5 years ago, so I'd had the salon about a year. Mm-hmm. And I started noticing how all these women would come in and just cry. They would just come in and just cry and cry. And they knew that they were safe there. Mm-hmm. And one day I'm just sitting there and I keep hearing that I need to do a retreat. And I hear it in my head. I hear it like, it starts out like a little tappity tap, tap, tap in the back of my head. And then it starts becoming a knock. And then it's like pounding. And then I have to take action. So for me, I'm a very action-oriented person. So this has been the same format for Estrogenfest since the very beginning. I end one and I do the same program for a year. And then when that last one ends, I start listening for the next program. But I think 2020 has already been writing itself, which is nice. I just have to sit down and work it out. But I say that it's divinely given to me because I don't, my friend Jonathan, he said, it's you. It is totally you doing this. And I said, it is, but it isn't. It's right. Guidance that I'm listening to.
But what is Estrogenfest? Because a lot of people don't know what it is.
So Estrogenfest the name I think is hilarious. And it was something that I wanted to have something kind of catchy and different, but it's for women, empowering women. So it's an empowering weekend where women can go and shed their shit that they've been hanging on to maybe since childhood to free up space for happiness, really is what it is.
Right.
And it's a game changer. And I just got back yesterday from facilitating one, and that was one of the biggest ones for me personally. So I participate right along with the ladies. So it's not like, sometimes when you're participating in something, you feel like you're in a very, the teacher knows it all sort of a thing. This is right along with you, and so that's very important to me, that the women who attend know I am present with them. So, we usually get a wonderful high-end cabin up in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. It's 3.5 hours outside of Dallas. Mm-hmm. And it's a place to go shed your shit, girl, and it is spectacular.
Yeah.
So that is what it has been. And I keep saying, until the voices stop talking, it's still going. So next year will be year 6.
Yeah, so that's you kept trying to get me to go forever. And I was like, girl, I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. But then I finally went, right? I've been to 3 of them now. 3 of them. And I loved it so much. The last 2 times I've taken my daughter, which has been huge for her. And it was so great to have her there, to have a child's perspective with all the adults. But so you have that, and I love it. I mean, I'm big.
And I've had a lot of hairdressers.
Yeah, it was funny when I went. I think there were 4 of us were hairdressers.
Yes.
Right. I think there was just one of them. Well, it was my daughter. It was the only one that wasn't the hairdresser. Everybody else was hairdressers.
Yes, but I've had hairdressers from all over the country come.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
It is. Okay, so you've got that. You've got your salon, and then you come up with a podcast, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your podcast.
So the podcast actually came about from a client who, she was sitting in the chair. I was doing her hair, and she goes, "You should do a podcast. You're really smart." And I'm like, "What?"
There's the seed. It was planted.
The seed, and I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? A podcast?" I had no idea what that would even look like, right? I wasn't listening to any. Bruin always listened. My son would listen to Joe Rogan, and he listens to him a lot every day. So I was like, "What do you mean I'm going to start a podcast?" So then that seed started, growing, and the knocking was getting louder. Well, then walks in Craig, and he walked into the salon. He was referred to me, and he was an audio sound engineer. And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because to me, that was way too orchestrated. Right. And I'm like, well, I have this idea. And it was just a year ago where my husband and I went in, we did the test. And just to hear, so, a little bit about this. I ended up having a horrific hormone journey, and I ended up having a testosterone overdose. And my voice today has shifted from the voice I had before that. So when he records me, I'm like, wow, I have a great voice.
Yeah.
And so, that really, I went through all of that to get to this podcast, to have this voice.
Yeah.
And so it's a voice in a lot of different ways. And the podcast name is All Fucks Welcome. And, I created that because I got so tired of people talking about not giving a fuck, or they don't have 2 fucks left to give. And that's not where we should be in society. We need to start caring and having compassion and giving and being more, instead of, having that ego perspective of, oh, I don't give a fuck anymore, because that you're saying you're giving up, really. Your soul's giving up. You're just done. And to me, that's not where we need to be. So we have all the fucks are welcome to the podcast. And we have had some amazing people. We're going to be filming our 49th episode on Monday next week. This season 4, has been very heavily veteran associated. So we've got a lot of veterans that have been on.
Yeah, they've been some deep conversations, which I love.
Very, basically the tagline is everyone has a story and we want to hear it. Yeah. And that's the truth. And we've had hairdressers on, we've had veterans on. I've had a trans man on. I've had a gay couple on. For
You've
me,
had mediums and
the psychic mediums. Yeah.
Well, the thing about your podcast, and I've had the frank conversation with you, is I was hung up on the word. Like, why is that word have to be in there? And I really, I'm always like asking questions so I can really understand the other person's perspective. Yes. So what really resonated with me was you're like, Tammy, if people are going to judge a word, it's just a word that was made up and everybody puts their meaning behind it. How many other things are people judging in life? Yes. And I was like, I get that. I totally get that. And I also get that people don't care anymore. It's like, not my issue, not my problem, or, unless it affects them personally, there's no empathy or sympathy for the other person. So I love that you're doing that podcast. I think it definitely resonates for me. And I love hearing the stories of people. I always learn something new, a new perspective. It doesn't mean I have to agree with it, but at least I can hear other people's perspectives, right?
And a lot of times I'll say, this isn't necessarily my truth.
Right.
It's their truth. It's their life. It's their story. And to me, if they're brave enough to come on and share that story, by golly, it's worth a listen.
Right.
And to me, in my life, I have taken great steps to lose judgment and expectation of others. It is not my place to judge you. I love you. I care about you. It is just not my place for that. I remember very specifically after Sandy Hook happened, and, my husband and I and my son were having a 45-minute conversation upstairs about it. Mm-hmm. And I said, we need to wrap everybody in light through this. And my husband, he said, even that monster who blew up those children? And I said, he needs it the most. That's the thing. Happy people don't blow up buildings.
Right.
Happy people don't go randomly shooting things. So, when we see somebody, I do this all the time. If I see somebody and their energy just feels sad, I'll smile at them. I'll say, oh, you look beautiful today. I'll say those things because to me, that could save a person's life. It could save their day. It could turn everything around for them in that moment. And I have decided, because I'm an action-oriented person, I'm stepping into that, and I am using my voice and speaking my truth more and more. I think it's very important to do so.
It is. I love it, girl. Amen.
Amen.
Michael Lawrence said amen.
Amen.
Okay, so you've got all this going on, right? So this is the point here. Like, hairdressers are so busy behind the chair, so are you, and you've got these multiple things going on. So how do you maintain, like, the clients, the juggling of the businesses, and keeping that balance with your family? Because I know family is, like, your number one value. So talk about that. Like, how can people wrap their head around working all this into their life?
So for the people that are single chair suites, I basically went and digitized my entire business. So when I first started, I would send text messages individually to each person to remind them. And some people have the mentality of, oh, well, if they can't remember their appointment, that's on them. No, to me, this is a busy society. And I want my person in the chair. They want to be there, and they just need to be reminded, because it's not like they're deliberately setting out to forget your appointment.
Right.
What's happening. So for me, right.
It's like when you make a dinner reservation, they call you to remind you of your dinner.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Right.
So for me, I got on a salon app. And I have a 48-hour email, a 24-hour text, and a 50% non-refundable cancellation policy. Now, that is, I have only done that. I've only enforced that with new clients that I don't know, and they never return. And I'm okay with that, because I don't want someone who's going to not show up.
Right.
So I digitized that. I have a digital, I partnered with Square Business. I love it. So
Yeah.
I Square for that. And so from that perspective, from the salon perspective, that is very well balanced. Estrogenfest and the podcast, I basically take my Monday early afternoon, and I do all the work for that. Then on Wednesdays, I do my uploads onto the podcast formats, so you can hear that on Spotify, Patreon, all sorts of different platforms. So yeah. I am very intentional with the time that I spend with myself. So my morning times, I love my morning times, and that's my time to rebalance. I'll do my meditations, I'll do my journal time. My daughter-in-law and I will have wonderful conversations. I'll have my grandbaby time. I take care of the dogs. You know, that's just my time. That is why I will not sacrifice going in early, because to me, that's for me. That is carved out for me.
Yeah. So there's the boundary. There's the boundary,
yes.
right? That's what we get. Like, I think I know me as a young hairdresser, I'd have my set hours and somebody would text or call, can you come in early? And I'd say yes. And then you get in earlier and earlier and stay later
and you get
later.
Sucked in.
And then there's no me time.
Well,
right?
then your business is running you, you're not running your business.
Right. Which is very hard to wrap around, because you want to make more money. And then it's just this vicious cycle. So
it's hard, but it's easy.
It is, but who taught us? I mean, the only reason you and I learned is because we were like going crazy. So we decided we finally needed a shift. But if we can share this with the younger generation, like, hey, mark out your time, your self-care time, your meditation, your planning your meal, or whatever it is you need. Yes. Mark that out, and it's non-negotiable. That's the hard part. Like, even for yourself, making it non-negotiable. Like, I need this time in the morning. You know, I've got my meditation time in the morning now. It's non-negotiable. I have to get that in. And I think so much more clearly throughout the day. Right?
This is the other thing. This is the other kicker to all of this. So many hairdressers are afraid to raise their prices.
Yeah.
And for me, when you start stepping into your self-worth and value, and that is not something that always comes easy, especially if we've had a tumultuous life somewhere. There's a shitstorm somewhere in most people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
But when we start stepping into that self-worth and value and realizing that I need to be solid in what pricing I want. So I give myself a 3%, and it's a 3% cost of living raise every year. I don't make a huge announcement. I don't post signs. I don't tell everybody, oh, I gave myself a raise, bitches. Look out. I don't do that. I don't
You just do
it.
I
have never done that. Because every time you do that, I've only had one client in all these years ever comment on that. And it was a man. And I'm like, you're fucking kidding me? It was $3.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what, though? I mean, you have to honor that. Like, $3 for some people is a lot of money. And it's okay. Just refer them to someone else that's going to take good care of them, right? But
he hung in there for a little bit, but then he's not with me anymore, and that's okay. He's a great guy. Then, and this is the thing, you can't just go, let's say you're doing a $45 haircut and you want to have a $60 haircut. You can't do that jump. You can't. You have to set a plan.
You have to have a plan. Exactly, the plan.
Yeah, you have to set a plan.
And slow and steady, you'll get there.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but to not take any action at all is not the way to do it. You've got to, you know, I always believe when I want to create something or do something, I find someone who's already doing it. And then I ask them to mentor me or educate me. I ask questions. I read books. I'm a big book reader, you know, like not anymore. I use Audible, but back in the day, like I'd always just kind of self-teach. How do I create this business that I want? You know, and then it works, but you have to be consistent with it. And the number one thing is you got to believe in yourself. How are your clients going to believe in you if you don't even believe in yourself?
Well, and you know, I have never had one woman comment when I have a price increase. The price increases too, even on my color services, average $5 to $7. So it's not.
Yeah, but Deanna, you also the other thing that we have to remind people is that you get educated often. right? Like I believe there has to be value behind it. You've got to keep getting educated and give the value behind it and show that you're learning new things, you're offering the new techniques, and that, you know, you can't just raise it to raise it. Put some value behind it, put some action behind it.
Yes.
And then, you know, if they choose to leave, they choose to leave. Somebody behind will be right behind them to take that place.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, okay. So you really, the answer to my question was, how do you maintain, right, your balance with family and your businesses? You put it on your calendar and it's non-negotiable, right?
It absolutely is. So every single thing, I actually run 3 calendars. I have a paper calendar. Actually, I guess I have 4 technically. I have a paper calendar here for the family.
Yes.
I have a paper calendar at the salon for me and my partner. And then I have my salon calendar. And then I've got a podcast calendar. So I actually run 4 calendars all the time. And to me, that has been spectacular because it allows me, I know what's where. You know, and I know what I need where. And so when it's on there, it's a date. I don't handle my stuff on the calendar, even if it's a girls' night, if it's an, you know, if I've got a podcast thing going on, you know, whatever, if it's on the calendar, it is there. From clients to personal. It's all right.
Yeah. Okay. So then the other thing, we've talked about this in the past. How do you keep going and like working through like what naysayers or your self-doubt? How do you keep going? How did you break through all that? Because you know that's a big one.
So
there's naysayers and then there's self-doubt, right?
So this is interesting. So the naysayer part of this, when I was in my salon, and so I was the only person that did not come from another salon. So when ours opened, everyone else, there was like a big walkout with another salon down the street, and then everyone came from other salons, and I did not. And there was a lot of confusion for other people, assumptions about who and what I was. You know, how come she does this? And, you know, because I would do fundraisers for people. If one of the girls had to have surgery, we'd do an envelope for her. If there was, you know, I do my angel tree for the veterans every year. And I'd put the tree up before everybody else would. Well, what makes her so good, you know, that she's putting her tree. I mean, this is how petty it got.
Yeah. I remember you going through
and it got really bad to the point where I'd actually consulted with the police about it at one point because I thought, this is getting dangerous. Like they're creating stories that had gotten so out of control through just gossip that was not true that it became a lot. So I still loved them. I still prayed for them. I still honored them because I knew they were not happy people. And before I knew it, they left. So then the environment completely shifted.
Yeah.
But for me, I loved them through it. And that was probably some of the hardest times that I had there because my space is so beautiful to me. And, but for me, I would do that. Now the self-doubt is interesting because I don't have a lot of self-doubt. I'll have an occasional mind fuck here and there, but, I remember very specifically, you know, that Angel Pat, oh God, my little soul sister up in Detroit, she said to me one time, she said, when you don't have clients on your book, don't freak out because you won't always have that, right? So take advantage of your downtime. And to this day, I honor that. So if a magical opening doesn't open, I'm not meant to be there. So I take that time for myself because usually
it's usually right when you need it, isn't it? It's like
I have to listen. I have to listen because, you know, the one thing I think as hairdressers we don't do is honor our body. We'll get dehydrated. We won't eat. We won't move. We won't exercise.
We won't go to the bathroom. We won't
go to the bathroom.
I know.
Oh, my Lanta. You know,
I know, girl.
It's one of the other things I started doing too, this doesn't have to do with self-doubt, but I started turning the notifications off on my phone while I'm at the salon. Because it would, depending on the full moon, new moon, if there was a solar flare or not, that phone would just constantly be going off. In one day, I had 13 messages in a day. And I thought, holy cow, it just dinged. I mean, it was just constantly going. So I shut it off. And then when I see a blue light, if someone's processing, I would just take a few minutes. I would leave my room. I step outside of my room so that way they don't think I'm being rude.
Yeah.
And go to the bathroom to take care of those messages. Yeah. So, you know, for me, the self-doubt, it doesn't exist too often, but I have to breathe through that stuff, get my journal out, do my meditation, and just reset. And a lot of times it's because I'm carrying a little too much, and I just need to breathe through it.
Yeah. Awesome. Love it. Okay. So as you know, my intention with Unbranded Education is to educate, guide, and empower beauty professionals, right? So what are 3 things that you would share with our beauty professionals watching, our hairdressers, to educate, guide, and empower them? 3 things.
Set your boundaries, listen to your body, and honor your space.
So explain that part. Explain that on your space.
So a lot of, your space is this radius, right? And sometimes we feed that metaphorically, physically with information or things that aren't good for us, right? We'll watch the news. Like the news is the biggest thing. I have not actually watched the news in 6.5 years. Like basically right before I opened the salon, I stopped watching the news. It is corrosive to our soul to listen to nothing but bad news all the time. So feed yourselves with things that are actually good for you. Whether you turn on Netflix's Moving Art, if you've never seen that, look at that. It's beautiful, it's peaceful, it's serenity. So honor your space. If you work next to somebody, let's say you're in an open concept salon and you're working next to somebody and you're getting resistance, meaning you're getting anxious, angry, stressed, worried, or whatever about working next to somebody, ask to move stations, get a different change of scenery. Honor your space. And, that's one of the things that I love about my partner is that we honor each other's physical space when we're together. And, when we knock that wall down, she has hers and I have mine, and we still have that balance. We have to create that balance within our soul and with what we do. But right. We don't necessarily have to define ourselves by all that. We just have to honor our space and listen to what we really need for ourselves.
Yeah, that was something you taught me. I think it was the second Estrogenfest I went to. You said, pay attention to people that don't make you feel good, or that don't have good energy around you. And I really, I never really thought about it, but then I started thinking when I be around people, do I feel good after I finish talking to them, or do I feel worse?
Right.
Does that music make me feel good or worse? Does the book I'm reading or the magazine I'm looking at make me feel good or worse? And I really started paying attention to those things, and I made a huge shift in my life.
Yes.
It was like this. As soon as I started paying attention, I was like, damn, why am I listening to this? Why am I listening to them talking shit? And me just sitting there listening is contributing to it. So I just walk away from all that. I really started paying attention to it, and I did a lot of cleaning up in my life, because if you don't pay attention to something, it never becomes attention, right? You're not aware of it. So I love that.
Well, and also Facebook, cleaning up what you're physically seeing.
Yeah. So and limiting the time, limiting it. Yeah.
I get no news on my feed. I don't.
Me neither.
I'm very specific in what I look at. So.
Yes. Okay. So what's next for you, girl? What is going on with Deanna for 2020, end of this year? What's going on with you?
Well, next month, Hawaii, so that's exciting for our anniversary, which is wonderful. And then October 1st, we start our give back for our veterans. So what that looks like is I do an angel tree for single veteran parents and their children.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had a lot of resistance with the parents at first because they were like, oh, I'm taking someone's spot. No, you're not. That is your spot. You know, having been a single mother through the holidays, it was horrible. So to be able to help support them in that way is really beautiful. So our goal is 200 angels this year. Let's pray we hit that mark, and that would be amazing. So that's October, November, December. And then it's cider season. We do cider in the salon, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then next year is going to be a big, big year for Estrogenfest because we're expanding.
Hooray!
And, yes! Estrogenfest is becoming Estrogenfest 2.0.
Yes.
And just so everybody knows, Tammy is joining the Estrogenfest family. Joining the Estrogenfest family through branded education.
Yep.
And it's super exciting. So we'll have 4 dates with Tammy and I both in February, April, September, and October, which are super exciting. And then I'll have a single because she's going to be on a cruise in June. I'll be by myself in June up in South Dakota. But we're going to have 2 Estrogenfest in Scottsdale, and we're going to have 2 Estrogenfest here in Broken Bow. So it's really, really exciting. I'm so excited about this, Tammy. I can't even hardly stand it.
Yeah, so we'll be announcing those dates on social media this week. If anybody's interested in joining us, we're going to take the concepts of my living with intention and her concepts of Estrogenfest, and we're partnering. So again, it's February, April, September, and October. It's all inclusive.
Yes.
2 of the dates are in Scottsdale, Arizona, and 2 of the dates are in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. So be looking at Estrogenfest Facebook page. Deanna will have all the information there, and I'll be posting it on my website as well, and on all my socials, all her socials, and you can register.
They'll be everywhere.
You can register with Deanna. We're super excited. And, you know, we want to help hairdressers and, you know, women empowering women. So it's a really good partnership for us. So we're super excited.
We are very excited.
I know, girl, what a cry.
I know. It's just beautiful.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be so awesome.
So let's just talk about it just a little bit.
Yes.
So, you know, we vet the people that come. We want to make sure that when you're, you know, if you're ready to shed some shit, that, you know, it really is your time. Because sometimes it's not the time. And sometimes it's the perfect time. Yep. So, you know, Tammy and I are both very intuitive people. And so if you're coming in through unbranded education, then, you know, we're going to have you talk to her first. And then if you're coming in through Estrogenfest side, you know, we'll talk. But you're going to talk to both of us at the same time, which is super exciting. And so we're really, really jazzed about this because it's going to be a phenomenal retreat. Because I think every woman deserves a reset. Yeah. And we don't take that time. We don't.
And I've been through it, and I know it works, and I know the changes it's made for me and all the women that have been in it with me. I mean, it's amazing what they're creating and letting go of so that they can move forward. And, you know, I know, I'm going to cry, girl.
Breathe, girl. Breathe.
I know. I would not have unbranded education if it wasn't for you, Deanna. So thank you. So anyway, you come in on a Thursday, and then you stay the night. It's Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and then you go home on Sunday. Yep. And it is, you know, when I first went to it, I could not justify the cost. I could not justify the time. I was like my own resistance in the whole thing. And then I just finally like, you know what? I just need to go. There was something calling me to go. So I went, and I've gone every year now. So I highly recommend it.
Well, and I think the great part of that program, that because I was a single mom in some of this, was we do a payment plan. So you can pay it out, you know, and that's the part that I like, because so many programs, you just don't have that option. And so, you know, you want to do one, you can absolutely. We do have limited seating though too. So, you know, it's not like 20 people come to this. It's not that. It's a very intimate, beautiful setting for people. So that's the part I like too. And gosh, I'll never forget that first Estrogenfest when you being uncomfortable. So, you know, as hairdressers, you know, one of the most amazing things about us is that we're always moving. And so I remember Tammy had brought her bag in, and she sat down on the couch, and she's just hopping around and moving her legs and very uncomfortable. And I looked at her and I said, are you okay? And you're like, I'm just very uncomfortable. I'm
Well,
not
because you
used
wouldn't
to
let me in
sitting.
the kitchen. You wouldn't let me do anything.
No.
And you know, we're so used, well, first of all, as hairdressers, we're overstimulated constantly. We're constantly overstimulated, and we're always serving and helping others.
Yes.
And it's not just at the salon, okay? And the majority.
We're caregivers by nature.
Yes, we're healers and caregivers by nature. So when I get there and I come into the kitchen, you're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I was going to help you. You're like, nope, you're not allowed in the kitchen. I was like, so you're like, just sit there. And I was like, seriously? I don't know. That was a huge, huge thing for me, just to be literally still. Yes. I probably hadn't been still in 40 something years.
Yeah. And you know, it was beautiful to watch you through that process.
Yeah.
Because you went from being incredibly uncomfortable to then having a blanket wrapped up, and you're like, oh, it was fabulous. It was
crazy.
But you know, I had to be taught how to relax. I had to be taught how to be. It's not easy.
It is not.
But it's easy. It's hard, but it's easy.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
So, you know, that's the part. It's worth it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing, you know, when you show up, we got you. So, you know, when we say all inclusive, it's all inclusive once you land or drive in or whatever that looks like. And then we got you. We got you.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything. Like, meals are made, drinks are made.
Everything's taken care of.
Which was very nice. Like, I wasn't expecting that. So it was good.
Experiential.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. All right, girl. Well, I'm having a coughing fit. All right. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. And thank you everyone for joining. I hope that everybody was inspired and picked up a few things from you. I definitely learn from you every time I'm around you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this will be on my Instagram for 24 hours, and then I'll put it over into IGTV, and then it'll also be on my website, unbranded.education.com. So
fabulous.
You'll be able to watch it. All right, girl. Well, thank you. I love you. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
You.
And
thank you for the opportunity.
Don't forget, join me next Monday during the day, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m.
I can't wait for that. That's going to be
great.
We're
going to talk to Michael Hurd. He's amazing, and he'll share his story with us.